for this week, yeah, it's all about integrity. So I said some pretty two hard experiences last couple months, I would say, totally on integrity, where a person is just exactly opposite of what they say they are. And I think one I shared a little bit more. I'll never say names of this because, yeah, don't need to. But this one in particular, this was somebody that I viewed as a friend, just totally lying repeatedly, and then going behind my back, and then just totally doing betrayal. And very painful, extremely shocking. Like, I don't encounter things like that at all in my world. Maybe, I mean, something like that. I mean, it's maybe been like 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. So it was something that was completely out of my norm of thinking, of just doing things, and all of a sudden it's just so abrupt, so shocking, and very painful. So I feel I'm pretty clear on talking right now, but I really had to do my own subconscious release extensively and really get support from others, because it really shook me. It really shook me that person would just lie so blatantly and then do what they did. And the funny thing is, I can laugh about it now, is their core value is integrity. He said, core value is integrity. And there's a second time where I was like, I keep having people spout integrity, but they're doing the exact opposite. So apparently there's some misconfusion. There's some confusion with what that fucking word means. And I realize a lot of people don't know. So over the years, I've boiled it down for myself for something just very simple for myself, which is do what I say and say what I do. Do what I say what I do. Do what I say, follow through on my commitment, follow through on what I agreed to, follow through on what I've said. And that's what happened. This person, we shook hands in person. It's crazy. Like, everything in my world usually happens online, but literally in person, shaking hands, looking each other in the eyes, somebody I considered a good friend, and then just completely going rogue. So, and not letting me know. So doing what you say, what did we agree to? And for my role is, if I can't agree to that, I'm not going to say it. So do what I say, and then say what I do. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Say what I do. Say what I've done. Say what I'm going to do. Say what I intend. Say the truth. And so do what I say what I do. So that's what integrity means for me a lot. And to me, there's a Martin Luther King Jr. quote. I forget exactly how it goes, but essentially it's like, you don't find somebody's integrity in the good times, you find it in the bad times, basically. Or, I mean, you find out the measure of a man during the times of crisis. So something along those lines. That wasn't the exact quote, but that was the spirit that I got from it. So what I'd like to say with this is, it was so shocking to me that I was like, okay, what did I miss here? What can I make sure that doesn't happen again? And I realized there's a stoplight system for me, because for myself, I realized before that I was either all in or all out. And especially when it comes to in a working relationship where I'm helping people put together their passion in some way, I know for myself, a problem that I've gotten into the past is that I will naturally see the best in somebody. I will naturally see who they can be and miss who they are right now. Say that again, because that's the classic mistake I would make in hiring in my early 20s, over and over and over and over and over and over again. So much time, money, and energy burned, because I classically would naturally see the best in people and see who they could be, not who they are today. See who they could be, not who they are today. And that, I feel like I've gone way better than that hiring, but in case of deciding who to work with, I missed the boat there. So this red light system, That's what I realized for me, and hopefully it can be of value for you as well. So green for me now is proceed slowly. Okay, like what's the rush, really? Especially because now the True Freedom sales funnel, the partner program, everything's long term. So I have to remind myself, what's the fucking rush, bro? What's the rush? And this is not a transactional business. This is built on the long term. So then yellow flags for me is slow down and addressed, pump the brakes hard. And that's the piece for me that I was really missing. I was getting a lot of yellow flags and red flags. And I'm like, I didn't have words for it at the time, but I'm basically like, I'm all in or I'm all out, that type of thing. So I just decided to keep going in, thinking that it would work out in the end. So what I'm looking down right now is some yellow flags, and I don't have these on a slide, but I'll just read them. So what I realized is yellow flags for me is when people do little lies. Oh, I got this amount of whatever in 45 days. I'm like, well, didn't you say it was 48? Oh, yeah. I thought it sounded better. Why? Why lie? To me, that's weakness, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to posture, trying to feel, trying to sound better than you are. It's weakness. It comes from a place of weakness. So little lies like that, being late and disrespectful of time repeatedly. Number two, white lies. People who will do white lies. I don't believe in white lies. I believe that telling lies is a skill. Like I think we can all agree on that. Like there are people who are better at lying than others. Just like it goes in that direction, I believe it goes in the exact opposite direction. That there's telling the truth is a skill. Saying the hard things in a clear way and hopefully a kind way is a skill. And certain situations to tell the truth require a higher skill. So this whole believing in white lies things, I believe it's just a low skill ability to tell the truth. One yellow thing too is like people who tell you the way it is rather than it being the way that they feel or they believe or what they think. It's just tends to be like a judgmental thing. Another one is people say, simply put, people who say integrity is their value. So when you ask them, what does that mean to you? If they can't say it in a simple sentence or two, it's not their value. That's how I feel. These are all things to remind myself, by the way. So take it for whatever you wish for yourself. These are just lessons that I learned for myself. And I'm going deep here because hopefully this can save from so much drama and pain. So then red, let's go take a step back. That's for me. Red is like, let me take a step back. And it doesn't mean I have to necessarily jump ship completely, but let me literally take a step back from whatever we're doing the next step and address it. And so if a person is committing to certain things and they go back on their word, okay, red flag. Missing appointments, lying to others, people who can't say thank you, people who can't say I'm sorry. Pretty simple thing. Like you can't say thank you or I'm sorry. It's like, get over yourself. I mean, that's pretty big ego. And the bigger the ego, the bigger the fall. And it's going to happen sooner or later. Yeah. And I think the other one, and I'll just share too, is subtle disrespect to others. Like 10 years ago and before that, I was very, very judgmental. And so that's disrespect of others. So I know for myself, that comes from a place of pain. This comes from a place of feeling insignificant. So it's like, oh, the mind needs to go ahead and judge others. So now I make a point of like, how can I always bring respect? And I'm not perfect at that. And I don't think I ever will be, but trying to be like, at least not put people down, be with respect, even if you disagree. And then the last one I'll say for this piece is, there's two. The other one for me personally, red flag, is if they're not connected to their spirituality. It's like, bro, we're post-COVID now. It's like, if you haven't connected to your higher power, if you haven't connected to your God, if you haven't connected to your spirituality, after going through COVID, you're behind, really fucking behind. And my role is not to be that person to pull you up or therapist you, to that point. And it's behind now, very far behind. So that to me, like I'm happy to share whatever resources make sense to them. I truly believe that there's 10,000 ways to ascension, that whole philosophy. So it doesn't have to, my, spiritual practice doesn't have to, another person, we don't have to be clones. Everybody can find their own way for their own connection. But if a person doesn't have a connection, and other one is, what I really realized is people who are really, really scared of being screwed over. Yeah, really, really scared of being screwed over. And because of two things I realized. Number one, it's because they do that shit to others. And so they're in that flow of, this might happen back to me, number one. And number two, maybe they don't do that to others anymore or at all, but it's happened to them so many times that that's such a imprint that's not healed yet. And in that case, they need a therapist. I believe we all need a therapist. And that's not my role to be that therapist. There's a lot of healing. There's a lot of things to feel centered from that, a lot of subconscious release. So that's what I realized. If they're really, really scared of being screwed over, that's red flag for me, and that's okay. Be a friend, but not do business in the sacred exchange of the money and the services and the work. So this is way longer than I expected it to be. And part of me didn't even really want to do this. But I feel like it's important because right now, at this time, right here, it's totally real. It's fresh. And it's at the point where I feel good from it. I've extracted the lessons from it, had the time. I've done loads of the subconscious release to really heal and feel it. And I feel centered. But for a good few weeks there, even more, I did not feel centered. And I was like way off balance. It took more and more and more and more to get back in. And people, very special people in my life. So I think that's it for right now is doing what you say and saying what you do, integrity, and realizing for me too is, we could scale it. What's 10 out of 10 integrity look like? Always meeting your commitments, always, being straight with the truth. What is 1 out of 10? I believe it's a scale, and have this red light system to watch out as well. And then, just know, especially I believe when we're scaling our business as well, really quickly, none of us are perfect, so maybe we're late to a meeting. It's happened to me, of course. I'm still like a 9 out of 10 on being on time for meetings and things. I went from being like a 1 out of 10, voted most likely to be late in high school. So come a long ways, and I'm still not like 10 out of 10 yet. So for me also as well is it's owning the mistakes. So if we do slip up and there is an integrity breach with our time, our energy, our word, whichever, own it. Be like, okay, that happened. Apologize, number 2, and then make it right. Balance the energy. So that's me. That's my philosophy for myself is own it, apologize it, balance it. And then we move on because none of us are perfect. None of us will ever be perfect. And something Grandpa Jack has always told me, as he says, you can make all the mistakes you want in the world. Just don't make the same one twice. He'd always tell me that when we were practicing sports, baseball, basketball, football, or if we're building a project together and it was new, make all the mistakes you want. Just make sure you don't make the first one, or just make sure you don't make the same one twice. And really that energy I took away from it is like, hey, it's going to happen and let's be creative. Let's put ourselves out there and then let's just learn. Let's just learn. Because if we're always learning, if we're always trying to be better, then we'll be in a good place. So in the subconscious release, going to release any of the fog that helps us that blocks us from seeing the red light system, stoplight system, as well as any resistance to being on point with our communication.